What's up, guys? CB Picks here. I got Joker with me. We're going to recap the four Elite Eight games as well as give you a preview of the two Final Four games. Let's get started. And here's a look at our Elite Eight records. 3-1 for me. Remember, we're only keeping track of our straight up records. No picks for Joker in the Elite Eight. Let's take a little bit deeper here. In the Uconn and Duke game, that was a 73-72 win for Uconn. I said I like Duke by 7. That was completely wrong. But I did note that I really liked the over, the 133. That was probably the one total that I really liked there, and that hit fairly easily. Went pretty clear over. I did say that I liked Duke to get 71, 72 points, and Duke hit right at 72. The only problem was Uconn scored 73 points for the loss. Illinois and Iowa, that was a 71-59 win for Illinois. I had said I liked Illinois to advance, and I liked them to win a close game by 3. That game was pretty close throughout. I said I liked the 138 over, and I liked Illinois to score 70-plus points, and Illinois did score. They scored 71 points. The only problem is Iowa wasn't able to do their job there, so that total did not hit there for me. Purdue, Arizona won 79-64. And interestingly enough, my first note was that I really liked Arizona by 15, and they won exactly by 15. I think at the end I ended up saying Arizona to win by double digits by 10. Tried to play it a little bit safe there. Should have gone with the gut there. They won big here, still covering that spread. And I said I liked the under 152, and that came in at 143. So nice pick there. Michigan 95-62 over Tennessee. I said I liked Michigan by 5. I thought the game was going to be close. I was entirely wrong on that part there. They won by 33 points. Michigan flexing their muscles, and we didn't even talk about the total in that one. I thought that was a little bit confusing with what was going to happen there, but that did end up going over, I believe. So overall, pretty good record here. 3-1 straight up. Let's take a look at our next matchups. And before we get into our Final Four picks, I have Joker joining us back here. I'm not going to be flying solo again. Don't think I did too well there by myself, Joker. But the first question that I want to ask you is, which team of these four teams we have, Illinois playing Connecticut, Michigan playing Arizona, which team have you been most impressed with throughout the tournament?
Great to be back. Thanks for having me back, of course. It's been a great tournament so far. Team, for me, that's been the most impressive has been Arizona. They've been dominant not only this tournament, but all year. What they're able to do against Purdue in the second half, really just showing the grit of a Tommy Lloyd team coming back. I mean, having Colapete at full strength now in the middle just gives them a whole nother dimension. I've really been impressed with them. Burries and obviously Jaden Bradley has just been taking over games late, and really I'm very impressed with Arizona.
Yeah, and the team for me that I've been most impressed with has to be the Michigan Wolverines. I picked this team to win the tournament from the start. They are looking phenomenal. They haven't scored less than 90 points. The offense is booming right now. Dusty May just running a fast pace. It's very tough for a lot of these other teams to keep up. Plus, quality wins over Alabama and Tennessee and St. Louis, who was top of their conference. Lendenberg, just an extremely good player. He's been showing out every night for this Michigan team. I expect them to get to the finals. We'll talk about it in a second. And our first Final Four matchup is the number 1 seeded Arizona Wildcats taking on the number 1 seeded Michigan Wolverines. This is going to be an awesome matchup. This is the Final Four matchup that we asked for. Let's take a look at this Arizona team first. Beating LIU 92-58 in the first round. Beating Utah State 78-66 in the second round. Beating Arkansas 109-88 in the third round. And just having a great Elite Eight performance against Purdue 79-64. Let's talk about that Arizona-Purdue game a little bit more. We have Arizona shot 47% from the field, 33% from three-point range, 91% from free throws. That's something you got to be able to do if you're going to play some of these games down the stretch. We'll talk about this game and how close it's probably going to be. If you can shoot your free throws at 90% plus, that is a huge bonus. Only 6 turnovers from Arizona. They really took care of the ball. Purdue, on the other hand, 38% from the field, 36% from three-point range. And we did talk about how that Purdue team, I think they were only about like 5%, 26% from three in their previous game, and how they really needed to up that a little bit. And they were able to at 36%, but still not enough to challenge this Arizona team. 62% from free throws. That's a big differential there. The 62% compared to the 91% of Arizona. Purdue has to do a little bit better if they want to have fighting chances against these bigger name teams. And then 11 turnovers, and it felt like some of these turnovers happened in key moments of the game where Arizona was able to cash out on those and get some points on the turnover. One last thing that I'm going to bring up here is I feel like I keep seeing the same story with this Arizona team where it feels like they're up double digits, convincingly winning the game. Then it gets back to a one-possession game, and then they win by double digits. And for me, this feels a little bit like they're playing with fire, and that does worry me, especially when you're going up against an offensive powerhouse like Michigan. So we gotta keep an eye on that. They just can't relax too much on the defense or offensive end. And I think that's something that Tommy Lloyd's going to have circled for his team to really focus on. Like, this is going to have to be a 40-minute game for them. You can't take a few minutes off here and there. So we really got to look at that. Koa Pete, 20 points, 7 rebounds for Arizona. Arizona only having 7 bench points. Michigan having a ton of bench points compared to that. And then Purdue, Oscar Clough, 14 points, 10 rebounds, has a nice double-double. Their bench has 12 points. So pretty solid game here overall for Arizona. I thought that their athleticism and their speed really just like took advantage of Purdue, and the Arizona defense is a very strong lockdown defense. They were able to take advantage of those moments when they had to. And the thing that I keep mentioning is obviously like I keep saying when they had to. You know, you're gonna have to in every possession against this Michigan team. So that's extremely important. Are they gonna be able to do that? Joker, talk to me about this Arizona-Purdue game. What did you see? What was good? What was bad? And what do you think Arizona's going to need to kind of improve a little bit maybe to challenge this Michigan team?
Yeah, I mean, Arizona in the first half, they came out hot with Bradley, Burries as well. But what impressed me was their ability to come back. I think we touched on a couple episodes ago, Arizona's traditionally a slow starting team. Can they come from behind? Can they play from behind? Tommy Lloyd, is he good enough to make those in-game adjustments? And for me, what they did to Purdue in that second half answered all those questions. And it was a resounding yes. I mean, the way they just took it to Purdue in the second half, quite frankly, Purdue had no answer for Koa Pete from the mid-range game. There was a couple possessions, back-to-back, top of the key, Koa Pete, knocking down jumpers. I mean, Karchenkov also had a great game, too, especially facilitating the ball. Arizona's dangerous. I mean, they've, in my opinion, been one of the top 2 teams all year long. Just watching that game, it really, really solidified for me that, they're, again, one of the most well-rounded teams. And I think that Purdue just didn't have enough in the tank. Obviously, I was expecting a little bit more from Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer. That backcourt experience, been there all year. Trey Kaufman-Renn, for me, just didn't do enough to get it done. Like you mentioned, Clough had a nice double-double, but, he was kind of left alone there in the middle. It was just a tough outing for Purdue. And I know that Matt Painter, that team, they've had a solid core of seniors, but just didn't do enough to get it done. Arizona really showed their mettle there.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely expected a lot higher expectations from this Purdue team, obviously winning the Big Ten, having a good run here in the tournament, but just coming up short in this Arizona game. There was a moment where it was like a one-possession game, and you thought maybe Purdue could do it, but Arizona just flexed every time it got close, and that's really all they had to do in this game. Just too fast, too athletic against that Purdue team. Let's talk a little bit about this Michigan team. The Michigan Wolverines winning first round against Howard 101-80, beating St. Louis 95-72, beating Alabama 90-77, and beating Tennessee 95-62. Let's talk about this Michigan-Tennessee game. And, this game started out and it felt like it was the Tennessee pace. It felt like Rick Barnes had kind of established a nice, slow, methodical pace, and then Dusty May just picking that up with his offense. Michigan's taking shots within like the first 10 seconds of the shot clock. And, once they started to pick the pace up, Tennessee had no chance of keeping up. Michigan shot 52% from the field, 37% from three, 73% from free throws. That's pretty good. 42 rebounds. And one stat that I really liked was they had 19 assists. So you can see, especially against like a very athletic Tennessee defense, they're moving the ball around. They're trying to find the open looks and get to the open man. It's not just like one guy taking it and driving. It's just looking for the open man and being able to get some nice looking shots. Tennessee, on the other hand, 32% from the field, 19% from three. That's not going to do it in any game in this tournament. 53% from free throws, 42 rebounds. They did have 9 turnovers. Obviously, we know this Michigan team loves turnovers. They cash in on those every single time. We talked about that Arizona team also doing the same exact thing. But I gotta credit Dusty May for coming out with a good game plan. With a good game plan in the second half. I felt like 10 minutes into that game, I think Michigan only had, I think it was like 14 or 15 points, and they ended up with 95 points. So, like, you talk about a team that has been able to just explode with offense. That's this Michigan team. Never count them out. And as I mentioned in my my pick for most impressive team, they haven't scored under 90 points. So this team is just putting up numbers. They're basically just saying, somebody score more than us, and no team has been able to. Yaxel Lendenberg having a great game, 27 points, 7 rebounds. Gillespie with 21 points, 4 rebounds, but he did have 4 turnovers. One of those in a crucial moment as well. Joker, I'm going to go to you here. What did you see from this Michigan-Tennessee game, and were you impressed with these Michigan Wolverines?
Yeah, I was actually very impressed with Michigan Wolverines. I did mention to you offline that I think Tennessee has the ability to keep this, under double digits. And the first 5-6 minutes looked as if that might be the case. And then about the 10-minute mark hit the first half, and that was not going to be the case anymore. That was going to be very apparent. I was just impressed. Tennessee, Rick Barnes' coach team, preaches defense, and I thought Tennessee was really going to give them a better game defensively. They still put up 90 points, like you mentioned. They had, I think it was 15 or 17 halfway through the first.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, Michigan might get tested here. And then they just absolutely steamroll Tennessee. For me, the best player in the country all year in terms of, a true MVP for me has been Yaxel Lendenborg. His game all year for Michigan, they would not be where they are now without him. He's the cog of that team. The way he can get open, the way he finds the open man, and just his ability to finish at the rim and get his own shot is just, it's impressive, and it's crucial to what Michigan does. And this game, it really wasn't competitive at all. The second half was just not even close. I was expecting more from Tennessee, but Michigan really, they solidified why they're one of the best teams all year, without a doubt, in college basketball.
Yeah, and I got to agree, credit to Dusty May just being able to recognize that he didn't want that Tennessee defense to settle in. As the shot clock kind of goes on, that Tennessee defense is just getting tougher and tougher. You got a bunch of long guys, a bunch of athletes kind of feeling out and looking for the ball, like for turnovers and everything. But Dusty May just saying, you know what, we're going to get back. We're going to take an early shot. We'll pass the ball a couple of times, but we're going to take a couple of early shots. And they started sinking those, early 10 seconds, and that just really set the tone. And then Tennessee, once they got down, a lot of pressure to come back. I think that was part of the reason for that 19% three-point, trying to find ways to get back into the game, weren't able to find it. Like you said, Rick Barnes, third Elite Eight here, and third time going home. So very unfortunate, but let's talk about this matchup. This is a popcorn matchup here. Michigan against Arizona. These teams are just two of the top-notch teams. Both have challenged themselves in the offseason, in the preseason. And looking at this spread here, we have Michigan opening up as a 1-point favorite. They are now moved to some books as a 1.5-point favorite. So we see a little bit of money coming in here on the Michigan side. That doesn't surprise me. Obviously, publicly, a lot of people are going to like a team that scores 90 plus points. Who's not going to like that type of team? Joker, before I get into a little bit more talking about this game, and hopefully we can have a little bit of a back and forth here. What does Arizona need to do, since right now they're considered the quote underdog? What does Arizona need to do to challenge and beat this Michigan team?
I mean, I look at this matchup, and these teams are almost mirrors of each other. I mean, they match up so well with each other, like for like. It's tough to really say, but I think if Arizona was going to win this game, their guard play has to exceed the Michigan Wolverines. Jaden Bradley has to win that matchup against Elliot Cadeau. And Braden Burries has to be the knockdown shooter that he's been all year and all tournament. For me, that's a spot where Arizona can exploit this matchup. I mean, obviously, Mara in the middle for Michigan going against Krivas. We'll say like for like, both elite shot blockers, rim protectors. Then you have, Koa Pete being full strength, against Ajaxel Lendeborg and Morez Johnson down low there. But for me, it's going to be the guard play. That is where the game is going to be won. If Jaden Bradley and Braden Burries can beat Elliot Cadeau and then obviously Trey McKinney coming in and Roddy Gale, they will win the game.
Yeah, and honestly, I would say this is the best team that Michigan has faced all year. And yes, they faced a couple of really solid teams as well. They absolutely destroyed Gonzaga 101-61. They beat Purdue 91-80. Lost to Purdue in the finals of the Big Ten tournament. And then now beating Tennessee and Alabama by double digits. But this is by far the most complete team that they've seen. And I think, like what Joker was saying, this is a team that's going to offer answers to a lot of the questions that this Michigan team has just been piling on to a lot of other teams. They match up. Arizona matches up very well with Michigan. I think Michigan's going to have to win that rebound battle against Arizona. I think that's going to be very interesting to see who's gonna win down low. Who's gonna be able to dominate the glass. I give the edge to the shooters of Michigan. I think they've always been able to shoot the ball extremely well. 37% from the field against Tennessee, and that's even against the long arms of the Tennessee defenders. This Michigan team is the number 4 offense in the nation, the number 3 defense in the nation, 16-3 in their quad 1 games. There is not much to fault against this team. Number 31 in the nation in 3-point shooting, number 16 in the nation in 3-point defense, number 3 in the nation in 2-point defense, and number 2 in the nation in 2-point offense. There is just really not much that we can fault for this team here. Joker, talk to me a little bit about this, the total here. I don't think we touched on it. I'm seeing it out. It opened at 139.5. It is now floating around 140, and there are still some 139.5s available. Do you see this game go? I mean, this is a Michigan team that we're talking about. They just scored. They just put up 90 plus points in every game. Obviously, they're going up against a much better defense from Arizona. But talk to me about this total here. You see this one going over?
I do. If you can get a 139.5 that's still floating out there, I'd say you take it with confidence. Again, we've said it, numerous times. 2 very high-powered offenses, 2 offenses that like to push the tempo. Me personally, I'm seeing this game probably a 78, 72, 74. I'm going to say
Joker, let me stop you there. I'm so sorry. I misread that. I was thinking the Uconn, Illinois. So the Michigan-Arizona game. I was like, wait, this can't be 139. Let me check this again. I was looking at the Uconn. So sorry, the total is 157. Open at 157. It is now floating up to 157.5, 158. These are pretty early lines, guys, because we're doing this video only hours after these games have completed and these lines have been posted. So right now we're looking at a 158. Joker, talk to me about that number.
Yeah, so if you could get a 139 that existed for this matchup, put a 401k on it.
Yeah.
Take out a mortgage, anything on your parents' house, your house, your friend's house. Yes. Now that we have that, I like it. I'm going to take the under on this. I'm going to stick with my prediction. I'm going to adjust a little bit. I'm going to say I see this being 76-72.
Wow.
Game.
76-72 Michigan.
I'm going to save that pick for later on.
Okay.
But I do see this going under. I think, yes, both these teams want to run and gun, which, for the most part they will. But in these late game spots, I think Tommy Lloyd's going to want to slow that pace down. Get the defense set. Obviously, Dusty May, great coach, one of the best in the game right now, making adjustments at the half and in game. I think later in that game, we're going to see the tempo slow way down. It might be a great pace to start. Halftime might look good. But I think towards the end, we're going to see a little drop-off there. Yes, they're probably going to play the foul game. It's going to be a close game. But I do like this to go under.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about this Arizona team. I'll talk about the total in a second. This Arizona team is the number one defense in the nation. They are now the number one defense in the nation after being adjusted from their tournament games. They are the number 7 offense in the nation. Number 37 in the nation at 3-point shooting. Number 35 in the nation at 3-point shooting defense. Number 2 in the nation at 2-point shooting defense. Number 52 in the nation at 2-point shooting offense. I mean, again, another strong team. And guys, these are like mirror images of each other from this team. And I agree, Arizona is going to try to slow this game down. We just saw Rick Barnes try to do the same exact thing, and it was unsuccessful. I feel like this game is gonna sneak over because I think Michigan's gonna realize that they don't want to play long possessions. Like, I think they're going to try to push the tempo here, especially now that you have Dusty May, who was able to be very successful at doing it against Tennessee. I think he's going to really try to run with this Arizona team. And obviously, Arizona, we've seen them play. They can play at a fast pace, 93-87 in their first game against Arizona. 96-75 against Alabama. So they've been able to kind of like run at a high tempo as well and shoot at a high tempo as well. So I tend to lean the over here. So, me and Joker are going to be on opposite ends here. Him taking the under 158. And I'm going to go with over. Best number I can get is 157 right now. So I would take the over on the 157 on that one. Now let's get into our pick. And honestly, guys, this is a -1, so the pick is going to be the spread. Maybe it's a 1-point game. Who knows? Like the Uconn Duke game, it might be a 1-point game. But we're going to get into our pick now. I'll talk first about mine. I really like these Michigan Wolverines. They have impressed me day in and day out. Obviously, a tough loss in the Big Ten Championship to Purdue. But I thought that was the perfect time for them to lose, to kind of find a little bit of that motivation and get started here. Now, I do worry that they haven't really faced a tough defense. You play Howard, not a great defense. St. Louis, not a great defense. Alabama plays no defense. Michigan had great numbers in that game. Tennessee, a little bit stronger defense, but this is not going to be like the Arizona defense. So I'm curious to see how the first 10 minutes of this game go. and who's going to be able to dictate the pace, but also how is this Arizona defense, how is the size down low, the size of this entire Arizona team going to bother Michigan? And that to me I think is going to determine the game. I think the first 10 minutes are very important when we're talking about this. But if you're going to give me a Michigan Wolverines basically at a pick 'em, I'm taking that all day. So give me Michigan. I'll take them -1. I'm taking them to advance to the championship. I'm sticking with my guns here. Give me Michigan over Arizona. Joker, where are you going?
Yeah, I mean, this game, like I just said, I mean, these are the two best teams, the most evenly matched teams. Michigan's been an absolute powerhouse all year long. The way they opened the season, just beating Gonzaga by 40 points was, so impressive. And they've looked fantastic in the tournament, up to date. I'm going to take Arizona. It's Arizona every year. When they were under Sean Miller, somehow just seem to never be able to get it done. This team, to me, feels different. I think Tommy Lloyd's going to make a statement on this game. I like Arizona by 4 here. I think that the key to this game, like I said, is going to be the backcourt of Jaden Bradley and Braden Burries. And I like those two to get whatever they want. I don't think Cadeau, has the body to stop them. As long as they can drive and get their shot and get fouled, I like those two to really, really make an impact. And I'm going to go Arizona by 4.
Yeah, this is going to be such an exciting game, guys. For the record, I'm going to go with Michigan by 5. I think they're going to win. I think towards the end, I think it might be a close game throughout, but you're going to have that kind of like foul game at the end, and then you're going to have the guys of Arizona not wanting to let go of their opportunity. Oh, maybe we can make a 3-point, maybe we can make a 4-point play. So I'm going to go Michigan by 5 here. Let's take a look at the next matchup. And our next Final Four matchup is the number 3 Fighting Illini taking on the number 2 seeded Uconn Huskies. What a game by Uconn, but let's start with Illinois first. They were able to beat Penn in the first round 105-70. They beat VCU in the second round 76-55. They beat Houston in the Sweet 16 65-55. And they just beat Iowa 71-59. Let's talk a little bit about this Illinois-Iowa game. This was a rematch of one of the first Big Ten Conference games, and we knew Ben McCullough was going to come in prepared and going to throw a few more different schemes and looks at to this Illinois team to see what they could do. And Illinois able to shoot 47% from the field, 18% from three-point range. They out-rebounded Iowa 38-21. That was huge. Their defense was incredible. And the other thing that I want to note here, too, is Illinois only had 13 fouls on the game, where Iowa had 20. So we saw this. We saw the differential last game against Houston, and I heard a lot of people complaining, it's favoritism, whatever. But my counter to that, guys, is that I just feel like this Illinois team is playing clean defense. They're playing very solid defense now. And yes, a week ago, I was knocking them for being a little bit soft. And I still want to see them go up against a little bit more aggressive team, and a team that can kind of drive the ball. And we saw that a little bit towards the end of the game with Houston as they were able to make a little bit of a comeback in that Illinois game. Being able to drive the ball. I had no idea why they weren't doing that to begin with, why they were pulling up and shooting so many threes. But you know what? We're talking about Illinois-Iowa. Still a little bit frustrated about that game. But we're talking about Illinois-Iowa. Let's look at these Iowa stats here. 38% from the field, 37% from three-point range, 21 rebounds, as we talked about, compared to the 38 rebounds of Illinois, and 20 fouls compared to the 13 fouls of Illinois. And guys, this game was very close all the way through until about 5-6 minutes left. And then we felt the presence of Illinois, their athletes, the athletes' experience. And I really was impressed by the defense. And obviously, we talk about Illinois having a top 3 offense in the nation. Extremely impressed by what this Illinois team was able to do down the stretch here. I thought Iowa's second half performance was pretty poor on the offensive end. And then also, you look at that rebound differential. They're not getting a lot of second chances, and they're giving up a lot of second chances to Illinois. And if you're giving one of the best offenses in the nation second chances to make a shot, they're probably going to make it. So that's what we had here. Wagler with a nice little standout game here. I talked about how in the game against Houston, he did seem a little bit nervous, a few turnovers, a few a few errant shots from him that we're not used to seeing. But here, extremely comfortable, getting 25 points against this Iowa team. I definitely think, though, that it helped that this Iowa team was a team that he has seen before. So there's that familiarity. But you got to be careful with that. Wagler's 17, 18 years old. So the nerves are going to set in, especially as we start to go up against this Uconn team. Mirkovic, 9 points, 12 rebounds. Again, adding to that big rebound differential. He was just eating up down there. And Bennett Sturts had a pretty nice game for Iowa, 24 points. He was 4 for 11 from three-point range, not too great, but the numbers were better than his last outgoing, which I don't know if he made a three in the last game. No. So yeah, so that was a little bit better step up for Sturts there. And the one guy we got to talk about is Stojakovic. I mean, what an amazing performance coming off the bench. I loved hearing him. I think he was interviewed at the half. I loved hearing him talk about his role off the bench. Now, this is a guy that's transferred from Stanford to Cal, now to Illinois, starting on Stanford and Cal. Now he's taking a role off the bench, and I just love his approach to it. He seems like, he's willing to get any opportunity that he can, and when he went in, he made the best of it. 17 points, 5 rebounds, no three-point attempts, so that shows you that he's driving the ball. He's playing it aggressively against this Iowa team, and we're going to need to see a little bit of that against the Uconn Huskies. But I like that he comes in and he does what he needs to do. The team didn't need him to shoot threes, so he didn't do that. He was able to drive the ball. So definitely look out for Stojakovic here. He's having a pretty good tournament. Joker, talk to me about this Illinois and Iowa game. And before I hand it over to you, I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on this Illinois team. They have a couple of freshmen that are 20 years old, and then they have Wagler, who's 17 years old. Underwood able to go and get a couple of players from Europe. And they're bringing a lot of experience here, and this is kind of a new thing that we're seeing, and I wonder if some coaches are going to copy it, because obviously it's working. But talk to me a little bit about the game and what your feels are if you kind of like this new look European team.
Yeah, first off, I do like the new look European team. I like that Brad Underwood embraces Team Europe. It's not just that they're a little bit older than your prototypical freshmen coming out of high school, but they're solid players. They're NBA-ready bodies. This is the second year now that he's going to have a few guys who are going to move on to the next level. I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, it's no different than, in the world of NIL, getting what you can for, the bang for your buck. And for Brad Underwood, he's found a nice little niche there with a lot of the international European talent. Touching on the game, I mean, it was a great game to watch. I mean, back and forth. Ben McCollum, you said it, ad nauseum. He's got great in-game adjustments. He's got these boys playing at a high level. And Iowa had a great season. I mean, they just ran out of gas, in my opinion, at the end. Illinois, a little too much at the end. I mean, I don't want to say they were playing with their food, but it seemed like it at times. Like you mentioned, Wagler was getting to the rim, fairly easily. I'm a big Ivisic fan, both brothers. I mean, they had quiet games by their standards for the year, but when it counted late, and Stojakovic obviously come off the bench and taking over, really giving them a spark. I mean, I think he should be starting, but if he's going to come off the bench and give that spark and give that team life, then I think he's in the right spot. But it's sad that it's not going to matter in the Final Four either way. But yeah, that's my thought.
Yeah, there's a little preview of what we're going to get here. Let's talk about this Uconn Huskies team And what an amazing showing from them. This Uconn Huskies team able to beat Furman in the first round, 82-71. Beat UCLA in the second round, 73-57. They beat Michigan State, 67-63, and then a stunning performance against Duke, 73-72. And it was really fun seeing this Uconn Huskies team in their Sweet 16 game go down by double digits and then allow Michigan State to kind of come back. And here in this Duke game, it was the complete opposite. They were down 19 points, and Duke, I don't know if I would say allowed them to come back, because I thought UConn really stepped on it. Got to give a lot of credit to them. Let's take a look at some of these stats here. We'll start with UConn. 44% from the field, 22% from three, 71% from free throws, 28 rebounds, and 5 turnovers. Looking at Duke, 52% from the field, 40% from three, 73% from free throws, 34 rebounds, and here's the kicker, 13 turnovers. Every other stat that I read off is for Duke. Duke played an extremely good and extremely clean game, and they weren't able to get it done against a Husky team that is led by a national champion coach. And guys, we talked about this, and I don't like to, we are talking a little bit about the betting and the lines and whatever, and I like to make this a little bit more of a pick show, but I texted one of my friends when UConn was down. It was like a minute and 20 seconds left. And I said, you should live bet UConn, because John Shire will find a way to lose this game. And that's exactly what happened. I cannot fault this Duke team, their athletes. They played amazing. The numbers show you that they played a great game. But when push comes to shove and you have to come up with offensive plays that score, with defensive plays that will work, they can't do it. Now, we got to credit to Reed on UConn, 26 points, 9 rebounds. He has been feeding all tournament, and he's been definitely a difference maker for UConn here in the tournament. So has Karaban as well. But UConn to escape this game, only shooting 22% from three-point range, is incredible. You have Mullins hitting that game-winning shot. He was 0 for 4. He hadn't hit a three-point shot all game, and he was able to hit this one to win the game. And you want to talk about, Dan Hurley talked about the confidence of him to take that shot. Hey, you haven't made it, but you know what? The clock is running down. There's not enough time for you to pass it to anyone else. And besides, no one is really open. It's kind of a mess. You have your wide open shot. I mean, wide open, you're like almost at the half court. And you just take it. That is a purely clutch player. Got to credit to Mullins. Got to credit to this UConn team. I was wrong. I said Duke was going to win by 7. That looked good for about 30 minutes. I really thought it was going to cash there. And Joker, I will tell you, I texted Joker. I can't remember, maybe it was like 5 minutes left, and I just texted Joker in all caps, believe. And that is what you saw from this UConn team. And as this Duke team started to fizzle away, they didn't have that. And I blame the coach for that. So that's my rant and my tirade. Joker, talk to me about this game. We know you're a big UConn Huskies fan. This is amazing to see them in the Final Four again. So talk to me about this game.
Yeah, first off, I just want to say to everyone listening, love it right. And I love when UConn wins. I love those two things. And I know that Duke, if you look at the box score, Duke may have been the better team on paper. But fortunate for, UConn and everyone else out there, the game isn't played on paper. And you actually have to play the game. And where UConn won the game is Dan Hurley. One of the best, probably the best, at making in-game adjustments. And what he was able to do at half, I mean, I haven't seen a UConn team shoot that poorly in recent memory. I'm not talking this year. I'm talking several years. I haven't seen them shoot that poorly. I mean, for them to go 1 of 19 to start the game from three-point range, be down 19 at one point, be down 15 at half, and be able to dig deep and look at themselves in the mirror at half and say, we're going to do this. I mean, hats off to UConn. I mean, just the guts on this team. I mean, I said Caravan is the X factor. One of the most storied players now in UConn history. Mullins, a star freshman all year long, to knock down that shot at the end was phenomenal. It was a fitting UConn ending because I know we texted a lot and I said, UConn, they just can't cover a spread. And they'll win the game, they can't cover the spread. And this was another one where, you got that feeling that something was going to happen. You texted me believe. I said, I believe always, but it's getting tougher and tougher as these minutes wind down. And when I watched Boozer throw that ball, Demery got that deflection, and Mullins is standing on the logo. And you knew when that went off his hands, that was going in. And it was so beautiful to watch. And like you said, Shire, just a moment for Shire here. Was Duke the best team all year, in my opinion? No, they were not. I think Duke, it caught up to them. I think they got lucky. Not to say that they're lucky in terms of winning, but the way they were playing this tournament, they were not showing me anything that would lead me to believe that they were the best team. Playing Siena very close, playing the rest of the games very close. I think they relied on Boozer. Boozer's a fantastic player, don't get me wrong. They relied on Boozer too much. They lack outside of, Foster obviously is not 100%. Gongwell wasn't 100%, but they just lack that, we'll say, Robin to the Babu. And Shire being unable to make those adjustments, I think it just reared its ugly head again. I mean, last year against Houston, same thing. I think it was 18 points they were up, blew it again. And I said to you a couple weeks ago, I said, if they couldn't win with Con Kneppel and Cooper Flag last year, they're definitely not getting it done this year. So I want to rub salt in the wounds. I know you had Duke, but, I'm very happy. We were moments away from this podcast being recorded in the ER if I had a heart attack watching that, game again. But, like I said, Huskies till I die.
Yeah, that last play, Joker, Duke's able to inbound the ball. And, Joker, remind me, backcourt violation is how many seconds?
Backcourt's 10.
And how many seconds were left on the clock?
Not 10.
Yeah, it was 10. It was 10 on the dot. And, 10 on the dot. Why are we rushing? Why are we rushing to get this ball, all the way up to the open? I don't understand it. I really don't. They're obviously, yes, clear nerves, but you could have played with the ball in the backcourt and still been you didn't need to throw that ball to. Yes, I get it. There were two guys streaming. They were wide open. You had a chance for your Showtime dunk finish. Well, guess what? That didn't happen, and you gave the ball up, and you lost the damn game. So, I think a lot of it goes back to Shire. I think he plays a little bit too safe. I think there's a lot of, playing not to lose, and Hurley, there's a lot of playing to win. And that to me is the biggest difference in coaching between those two guys. And, hey, one has 2 national titles, and one has none. So it is what it is. You can tell I'm heated up about it. I'm not a Duke fan, guys. Let's be clear. I am not a Duke fan. So I'm just telling you, and it's not about it's not about betting or anything. For me, it just bothered me that this team that was clearly the better team, had the better players, is just able to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. It's just.
What do you think? What do you think that huddle on that last time out before that possession, looked like for John Shire? If you had to.
The defensive, the one that, before Uconn's possession.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, if you're John Shire, what are you telling them in that moment?
And that's what really bothers me. And we go back to the same thing happened, Joker, when we had that timeout for the Houston game. And he's trying to set up his guys. And, obviously, I think there's got to be an emphasis on, make them hit a tough shot. They're going to look. They need 3 points. They're going to look for these few guys. Caravan, Mullins. So, make sure those guys don't get a clean shot. If it's another guy, fine. Let them take the 3. But you got to do everything you can. And I was surprised at the foul call. You had Boozer kind of bodying Demery, and that's a foul. That's a foul. And yes, I know you got to defend him a little bit further off the 3-point line, but it's you can't make those errors at a crucial moment like that. And it almost paid off, because Demery makes 1 of 2, and Duke's able to
1 or 2.
Yeah, 1 of 2. I mean the most nervy of free throws. That probably the 2 toughest free throws he's ever had to make in his life. And UConn and Duke's able to inbound the ball still. And it just kind of goes to chaos there. Was there a need for a timeout after that? After the free throw, you think, or no?
I wouldn't have personally, but I'm okay with it either way.
Because you don't want Hurley to set up a defensive scheme. Yeah.
That's exactly what I want.
Yeah, but I mean, hindsight's 20/20, guys. Maybe would it have been more effective for Shai to call a timeout and tell his guys hey, we got 10 seconds left, don't do anything silly, no stupid passes. I don't even know if that would have helped. Because then maybe they can't even inbound the ball because Hurley's able to draw up some. I can't tell you how many times I've seen in this tournament the inbounds play and then they inbound it to the corner and turn it over. So we could have gotten that. But anyways, you know what? We're gonna move on. Joker, I'm so happy for you. Let's take a look at this matchup, and this is going to be a great game. We have Illinois coming in. They are the number 2 offense in the nation, and now a top 20 defense in the nation as well. They are sitting at 7-8 in their quad 1 games. So losing record, they've had games where they look good. They've had games where they look bad. I still believe that a team that can kind of push them down low and be aggressive with that Illinois defense is going to have a lot of success. I have no idea why Houston didn't do that. And then obviously Iowa, not that type of team that likes to do that. They're more of spot shooters and everything. So we haven't seen a team be able to kind of push and put some pressure on Illinois. Well, now we have Reed from Uconn who's going to come in here and he's going to challenge this Illinois team a lot. He's had a great tournament, and I think he's going to continue to feed down there. I think he's going to really put a lot of pressure on this Illinois defense down low. And for the love of God, can we have a fairly called game? I don't want to see him being aggressive down there and then just getting called for fouls, in the first 5 or 10 minutes of this game, and then he's out, and Illinois is able to pull away. So hopefully we have a fairly officiated game. But Joker, talk to me about UConn's path to a victory against this Illinois team.
Yeah, I mean, just first off, these two teams have played each other already this year. back in November, UConn did beat Illinois by 13. And I want to bring it up for a couple reasons. With Terrace Reed playing at the level he's playing now, Reed was limited to 15 minutes in this game with 4 personal fouls. He had 2 points and 5 rebounds, and they still won by 13. Solo Ball had a good game, which, seems far and beyond these days. But Mullins also, 10 minutes played, 2 points, no threes. So UConn was able to get this done largely in part from, a lot of the role players off the bench, with Ryba playing 22 minutes, Malachi Smith having 14 points, 24 minutes, 9 assists against this team. Obviously, for me, how they win, a clear path, obviously, is playing through Reed. I mean, did not just dominate down low and on the boards, but also, if you watch the game tonight, Reed passing the ball, getting the open looks, obviously Caravan on the backside on the roll was there all night against Duke. So playing through Reed in the middle, I think, is obviously one of the ways that you can attack this Illinois team. Also, then you also lean on the guard play. Demery and Solo Ball, 2 experienced guards going against, Wagler, who's 17 years old. He's had some really good games this year, but, is he going to step up when the lights are brightest in the Final Four stage? I don't know. Boswell's a grizzled vet, former Arizona guard. I love the matchup here against those two. It's going to be, a dogfight with that, similar to what it's going to be on the Arizona-Michigan side. But, again, in this game back in November, UConn, shot 36% from 3, 41% from the field. Illinois, for their, largely high-powered offense, shot 32% from the field. So if UConn's going to have to play, again, lockdown defense, this is going to be a dogfight. I really believe it. With UConn coming in as the underdog, I don't know how they make these odds, but, this one to me obviously seemed a little bit backwards, which I will take advantage of again. Thank you, Vegas. But, yeah, I think they have to limit the turnovers, which they did tonight. They only had 5. Take care of the ball, again, knock down threes late, and stay out of foul trouble. Those are the keys to victory. They didn't do it, and they were still rewarded back in November. But if they can do that now, I think we'll see them in the finals.
Yeah, I really like that breakdown. And honestly, though, I'll bring up a few points here. Illinois was 6 for 29 in that game from 3-point range. And obviously, if you guys have watched their tournament, I don't think they've taken over 24, maybe 25 3-point attempts in any game. I think they kind of realized that that's not really their identity. But maybe back there, you have a team of a few new players trying to figure out what they're doing well, what they can do together. UConn was 10 for 28 from 3-point as well. So kind of maybe like conversely, a very similar argument as well there. A team trying to figure out its identity as well. So because I just don't see a lot of threes being shot in this game. But the one difference that I see, Wagler, 14 minutes, 3 points. If he's not playing 14 minutes in this game, I'll guarantee you that. He is going to score more than 3 points. I'm so interested to see how this becomes a little bit of a difference maker for them. Now, obviously, we had Reed was 15 minutes for 2 points. So do not look at the past, right? And determine that, like, oh, well, UConn beat them by this much. Like, guys, don't do that. But I'm not saying this is going to favor Illinois or UConn either way. I'm just saying don't look at the past game because there are so many things that are different. Both these teams have really discovered themselves in conference play. You have an Illinois team that is younger with a lot of freshmen figuring out their way, and now you have a UConn team that is red hot coming in here, and gotta believe they're playing with house money here because they probably feel like they should have been out. And I love that mentality, especially if you're on the brink of losing, you got your bags basically packed, and then you come back and win the game. Hurley is saying, you know what, guys, why don't we just go out and win this whole thing? So that's what they're going to try to do here. Let's take a look at that spread that Joker was alluding to here. We have Illinois open at a 2.5 point favorite. They are now floating around a 2, and I'm seeing DraftKings has them at a 1.5. So we're seeing a lot of movement towards Uconn, and 66% of the tickets and 60% of the cash right now on Uconn. That is moving this line towards the Huskies. So if you want to get Uconn plus money, if you want to get Uconn plus 2.5, I'm seeing a few available on FanDuel, BetMGM, and the Score. If you want to do that, guys, you got to do it now. Like, if you're listening right now, pause the video and go take that right now, because those aren't going to be there tomorrow. Joker, talk to me a little bit about this the spread. And obviously, I know you said you like your Huskies to win, but talk to me a little bit about the spread and how you think UConn is able to keep this game close, and even if they lose, that they'll be able to cover this number.
Yeah, I mean, I alluded to before that they're going to keep us close, being disciplined on defense, not committing the ticky-tack fouls like you mentioned. Hopefully we get a good officiating crew, Roger Ayers. Hopefully he's hearing this and he's going to ref the game. They need to just stay fundamentally sound. They got to chase Illinois off the three-point line. If they can keep Illinois off the boards, Illinois is a good offensive rebounding team. UConn, good defensive rebounding team. If they can be fundamental and keep them off the boards and keep them off the three-point line, similar to what they did to Michigan State, I think the recipe's fairly the same against Illinois as it was Michigan State. They win this game. I love the plus 110 that has already been put in. I also was able to get a 1.5 at plus money as well. So have a little insurance there if they were to lose by 1. But obviously, insurance is made for people who don't need it. So I don't need the insurance, but I'll take it. And again, this is not a biased take. I really just don't see a world where UConn loses this game. They've beaten better teams in Illinois. They've already beaten Illinois. Obviously, yes, recency bias is a thing. This was back in November, but both teams are playing at a high level. But Dan Hurley's not going to lose this game. He's not going to drop the game to Illinois. He's seen what Brad Underwood has. He knows how to defend this set that Underwood's going to bring. I don't see a world where UConn loses this game, and I mean that wholeheartedly. Has nothing to do with being a UConn homer.
Has nothing to do with it. All right, guys. I'll give you my picks here. Joker, I got you locked in for UConn. I got a plus 115. We'll give you that one, and then I got UConn plus 2.5 for you. So 2 really good numbers there. Guys, I'm gonna be on the opposite side. And Joker, is that we were on the opposite side of the last game too? Yeah. So one of us is going 0-2. One of us, or maybe we're going 1-1. Maybe we split it. Who knows? I'm on Illinois. I think they advance. I think they're gonna cover this spread if they advance. I feel like Duke was able to give you a little bit of a template that Illinois can implement against this UConn team. I think they need to be able to shut down Reed. If they can't, that's going to be a big issue. He's going to be getting a lot of rebounds, not giving Illinois second chances. And I do question this Illinois defense. I really do. They've looked great this whole tournament, but I do question them against a pretty physical UConn team. So I'm gonna do Illinois to advance, and Illinois minus. Let's see what I can get. I can get a 1.5, so I'll do a minus 1.5, and Illinois to advance. Let's take a look at that total here. It opened at 140, and it's now starting to move down to the 139.5 range. Joker, talk to me about what you see here with this total. Do you like it going over? Do you like it going under? My guess is you like it going under because if it's going to go under, it's going to be a UConn spot. But tell me what your thoughts.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a defensive battle. UConn, for how good of a shooting team they are, have not really shown it. Last couple games, I don't expect an eruption of points from UConn. I do think this is going to be a close game, which to me would be UConn controlling the pace. So I do like this to go under. I would say it's probably going to go under by 2 to 3 points if I had to guess.
Okay, great. And yeah, I'm gonna go with the over here. So we're on opposite sides again. I do think if it's an Illinois game, I think we're gonna see some offense from this highly rated Illinois team. I'll go with Joker. I'll get you in at the under. Ooh, the score has an under 140 and a half. So that's a nice number there. So I'll get you in at under 140 and a half, and I'm gonna take the over 139 and a half. I don't see any 139s on the board, so I'll go over 139 and a half there. Who knows? Maybe it lands right on 140 and we both win.
Possible.
Joker, any last thoughts before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've been giving out good insights, good picks, profitable picks, some surprises there that have, gone against the grain and been great. I think this is also another great breakdown, but if anyone's seriously looking to, better themselves and, make a few dollars, they'll listen to UConn Moneyline. And they'll also listen to Arizona Moneyline. Because that will be the championship with the Huskies prevailing. Dan Hurley will win his 3rd national title in the last 4 years. And Alex Caravan will go down as the greatest player in UConn men's basketball history. So I will leave you with that final thought. Go Huskies.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening. That is a wrap on our 2 games. We'll be back for a finals breakdown. We'll see where we were right, where we were wrong, and yeah, Joker's been hitting these totals pretty spot on. So definitely listen to him on those as well. Thanks again, guys. Thanks again for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share your picks in the comments. Share the video. We'll be back with our finals picks once the Final Four has concluded. Thanks again, and we'll see you guys in the next video.